and welcome to the official launch of the Erasmus Plus app, another opportunity for the students to become better prepared for the mobility experience in front of them. This opportunity was brought to us by the wave of the digital transformation. And the app is a central place where students can find all the information that they need to find, as well as access all the tools, all the activities, as well as all the discounts that they can access during their mobility experience. The Erasmus Plus app is the initiative of the European Commission that is done in collaboration with the Erasmus Student Network, the European University Foundation, and the ELTE University. My name is Tajana Mohnatski, and I am the Vice President of the Erasmus Student Network. And during this event, I am going to be your moderator. Regarding the rules for the event, we are using Zoom, and some of you are joining us through Zoom. However, some of you have the pleasure of following us through the Erasmus stream, through the live stream throughout YouTube. If you have any technical difficulties, you can use the conversation in Zoom. However, for all the questions for the speakers and all the other intermissions that you would like to have, we will be using Slido. In order for you to be able to access Slido, simply go to slido.com and use the code EAPP in order to be able to access the Slido conversation. Again, please use Slido for all the content-related questions, and if you have technical troubles, please use the conversation in Zoom. You can already access Slido now because we would like to test the Slido with all the participants in order to make sure that everyone is comfortable with using it. So please enter it now. Additionally, we will be using Twitter, and the official hashtag of the event is the Erasmus app. So please use the hashtag Erasmus app. If you would like to ask questions or share observations with some of the speakers, you can use so directly through Twitter as well, especially during the panel. We will share their Twitter handles later on. Thank you very much for the understanding and for respecting the rules of the event. Now, to make sure that everyone is comfortable with using Slido, I can see that someone already started answering and that some of you already found our poll. We are going to run a short poll in Slido where we would like to get to know our audience better and where we would like to know who is actually joining us. So please, if you haven't entered Slido yet, you can do so by accessing slido.com and using the code EAPP, so Erasmus app in abbreviation, and you can share your profile with us. We have a student and/or student representative, university representative, education policymaker on a national, regional, or European level, and we have youth worker. If you do not find yourself in any of the options that we have offered, you also have other, so you can also share that with us. I can see that the answers are still incoming and that there's quite a lot of them. The majority are university representatives, followed by the student and/or student representatives. Very good. We are going to progress now. However, feel free to still answer in the poll because the poll will continue running and you can still leave your answers. Now, we are going to officially start the event. And in order to officially begin, we have the welcoming words by the European Commission. It is my pleasure to present Themis Christophidou, the Director General for Education, Youth, Sport and Culture of the European Commission, who is going to speak and who is going to present us the context in which the Erasmus app has emerged. Madam Director General, the word and the floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. A few brief words from me. It is a great pleasure to welcome you all at the launch of our revamped and upgraded Erasmus Plus app. I want to start by thanking the Erasmus Student Network, the European University Foundation, and Eötvös Loránd University for the fruitful cooperation in the last year and for organizing this event. The Erasmus Plus app was first launched back in June 2017 in the context of the Erasmus Plus 30th anniversary. The app drew a lot of interest and has to date been downloaded nearly 100,000 times. Wow. In January 2020, we started building on the success of the first Erasmus Plus app to significantly enhance it, add to it new features, and gradually transform it into a true one-stop shop for students and young people that are interested in having a learning or training experience abroad. Today, we have reached the first milestone in this process. The Erasmus Plus app has been revamped and upgraded so that users can enjoy Erasmus Plus at their fingertips. Its new features will help young people discover the Erasmus Plus program. We now need students, student organizations, and higher education institutions to help us populate the app with information, stories, tips, events, and special offers for students in your local communities and to promote it across Europe. For those of you who would like to learn more about the technical sides of the app, we are organizing several technical webinars in 2021. Give us your feedback, either through the app itself or during the webinars and events such as this one. All of this would feed into the developments and help us in having a successful second major upgrade of the Erasmus Plus app later this autumn. Throughout today's event, I encourage you to take part in our interactive polling via Slido. Share your thoughts with the great panel we have with us here today and with our Commissioner. Without further ado, it is my honor to welcome our Commissioner for Innovation, Research, Culture, Education and Youth, Madame Maria Gabriel. Commissioner, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Denise. Good afternoon, everyone. It is a great pleasure to be here with you, launching this new Erasmus Plus app. And first, like Denise, let me thank the European University Foundation, the Erasmus Student Network, and Eötvös Loránd University for making this happen. Thank you very much for the good cooperation. I look forward to working together with you on the future development of this application. So I also want to share my gratitude to all the students and student organizations that helped us develop the concept, test the new features, and make sure that the new application addresses the needs of our young mobile students. The last year has not been easy for anyone, yet this was even more true for mobile learners. The pandemic forced us to respect strict social distancing measures and made mobility difficult, if not impossible, for a certain period. Despite all challenges, the continued success of the Erasmus Plus program and the launch of this application today are a testament to our resilience and our commitment to student mobility. Erasmus mobility is perhaps the Europeans' most popular action. It is an experience that is almost universally seen as positive and enriching. Through mobility, you will acquire problem-solving skills to thrive in a rapidly changing economy and society. And it will give you the confidence and creativity you need to take charge and be proactive in tackling big challenges, such as climate change or digital transformation. Yes, Erasmus helps us be inclusive. Mobility strengthens the sense of togetherness and inspires us to appreciate the diversity of the European Union, to make new friends and learn new languages. Once students decide to take this up, we have to make sure that there are appropriate support structures in place to guide them through this journey and help them make the most of this opportunity. So you can see the launch of this application is part of a larger plan. I'm very proud of my team. I'm very proud to have Temis Christofido as Director General. I have an excellent team in DG EAC, and we are really actively working to see the European education area a reality by 2025. So let me tell you just a little about how we are progressing towards this vision. One of the first steps we took was to start bringing together our higher education institutions in a structured manner. So we created the European University Alliances. As we speak, we are piloting 41 alliances. They pool university resources by developing curricula across borders, making sure you have the opportunity to learn not only what your university has to teach you, but also what their partners can give you. One of the goals of the European universities is for 50% of their students to have mobility experience abroad. Of course, this will require deeper cooperation between the partner universities and will lead to joint long-term strategies. The implementation of these strategies will show us what works and what does not. That will empower the entire higher education landscape in Europe to transform as well. And I know that this objective is very ambitious, but we are not doing this empty-handed. We managed to almost double the budget for the Erasmus Plus program, and the new program will be greener, making greater use of digital tools, and will have a reinforced international dimension. It will also be more inclusive and accessible, offering greater support to a wider range of participants and additional opportunities such as blended mobility. And it is precisely in the context of these efforts to make mobility simpler, more accessible, and more inclusive that the European Student Card and the Erasmus Plus app come into play. The successful implementation of the European Student Card initiative is one of my main priorities, and together with my team, we are working in order to put in place services and support mechanisms that make participation in student mobility as easy as possible for both students and higher education institutions. I know that participation in student mobility can be challenging. You may have plenty of questions. Where do you find information about relevant opportunities? What is the right host institution for you? How do you apply? How can you connect with others in the host community? In the Erasmus Plus app, will help you answer these questions. It will become a digital one-stop shop, allowing students to have all the information, support and administration services they need before, during and after their experiences abroad. And through a connection with the Erasmus Without Paper network, which helps higher education institutions manage student mobility, students will be able to find host institutions, sign their learning agreements, find practical information, events, or special discounts. The Erasmus Plus application will also help higher education institutions keep in touch with their students, sending them notifications and reminders when needed. And when your mobility experience is over, you will be able to use the app to share your story and help other mobile students find their way. In true Erasmus spirit, the app will be a place to receive and to give support. This will further strengthen the Erasmus community. And I'm glad that even more functionalities will become available this autumn. However, for this to happen, we'll need your help by downloading the app now, promoting it, and helping us populate it with useful information. You will make this community bigger and more inclusive. I know that all of you students, student organizations, and higher education institutions, you will continue to support us to make the Erasmus Plus app a pillar of the Erasmus community. You can count on us, and I thank you. Thank you very much for this.
Thank you very much, both Madam Commissioner and Madam General Director, for your words, as well as for participating in the event and for enriching us and the event with your participation. As our next speaker, we have Professor Dr. Laszlo Borhi, who is Director of the ELTE University, as well as one of the partners in the Erasmus Plus app project. It is a pleasure to have you here, Professor Dr. Laszlo Borhi, and the floor is yours. You can take over.
Commissioner Gabriel, Director General Christofidou, representatives of our partner institutions, ladies and gentlemen. I'm delighted to welcome you to today's event when we can celebrate together and also take a look at the first features of the new enhanced Erasmus Plus application. We are especially glad that Commissioner Gabriel and Director General Christofidou can participate personally in our event. We are very grateful for the continued support and cooperation for the European Commission and its representatives during our work. The Erasmus application is a key element in the digitalization of the Erasmus Plus program, as it will provide a single point of entry for students to several services and sources of information relevant to a seamless mobility experience. I'm very proud that Eötvös Loránd University has been playing a major role in coordinating this project, and I would like to take this opportunity to thank the European University Foundation for their professional guidance and unconditional support, and the Erasmus Student Network for representing students' interests and leading communications and promotions of the project, as well as the subcontractors, eWorks, and the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki for their outstanding IT work on the app. International student mobility is one of the main pillars of Eötvös Loránd University's internationalization strategy. As we point out in our Erasmus Plus policy statement, Eötvös Loránd University is dedicated to the principle of involving the widest possible range of students and staff in its international activities. And one of the best ways to support that principle is through mobility. It is of utmost importance that we provide cutting-edge services to our students and ensure the best possible mobility experiences. And the new Erasmus Plus app is a vital tool for that today. We know that high-quality student mobility will result in the development of all related fields, and that it facilitates better teaching, research, and curriculum development. Therefore, we are putting every effort into further improving our student mobility programs. Hence our participation in the Erasmus Plus app project and other digitalization initiatives like the Online Learning Agreement or the European Student Card initiative. I'm convinced that our work with the Erasmus Plus app and related digitalization initiatives will contribute to a better, more inclusive and digital European higher education area, so the mobility of students will become a real tool for quality research and education. This, in turn, will ensure that Europe remains really competitive at a global level in research and development. I also think it is important to mention that the first version of the Erasmus Plus app was released in 2017 to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the Erasmus program. Back then, and even earlier, we already knew that transforming paper-based information into electronic data would be the most important aspect of the future of the Erasmus Plus program and would substantially transform the landscape of the European higher education area. The COVID-19 pandemic has also taught us that digitalization supports us in the most difficult situations, enabling us to maintain our links and to continue to share all the information we need to go forward. Talking about digitalization and electronic data raises questions of data protections and privacy, and I can assure you that we take data protection and privacy very seriously indeed. Therefore, the policies related to the app also provide effective data security to all users. You will find further information about this aspect in our privacy policy statement. I would like to conclude by once again expressing our gratitude to you for joining us today and for all your kind support and cooperation throughout this important project. Now, I will give the floor back to our moderator, and I must say that I very much look forward to seeing the new version of the Erasmus Plus app together with you all. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Laszlo Borhi, on your kind words, as well as to ELTE University for all the contributions to the Erasmus Plus app. Now we will move to the introduction of the Erasmus Plus app held by Kaspars Abelnica, the web project administrator of the Erasmus Student Network. However, before we move on to the official presentation, we would like to share a short video that is going to offer a brief introduction into the Erasmus Plus app. Hopefully, you're going to enjoy it as much as we enjoyed creating it.
Since 1987, Erasmus Plus has been supporting young people to have life-changing experiences abroad. You can receive a grant to either study, train, or volunteer in another country thanks to Erasmus Plus. This will allow you to develop your skills and learn new things, connect with new people from all kinds of backgrounds, discover new points of view and possibilities for your future, all the while having a lot of fun and creating memories to last a lifetime. Curious to learn more about what Erasmus Plus can offer you? Download the new Erasmus Plus app, where you can find information, guidance, tips, and inspirational stories at your fingertips to help you have the best experience abroad. Your Erasmus in one app.
Hopefully you have enjoyed the video and that the video has also offered a short sneak peek into the Erasmus Plus app. Like I already announced, next we are going to proceed with the official presentation from Kaspars, the web project administrator of the Erasmus Student Network, about the introduction into the Erasmus Plus app. Before I officially give the word to Kaspars, I would like to already announce that in Slido you can find another poll about the features of the Erasmus Plus app and what you personally enjoy the most and what you personally like the most. You can, of course, already answer the question. However, you can also listen to Kaspars' presentation and you can answer the question as Kaspars presents the Erasmus Plus app. Now, Kaspars, the word is yours. So enjoy, and hopefully everyone likes the presentation.
Thank you, Tana. As I saw you wrote my presentation, I just wanted to thank the Commissioner, the Director General, as well as all of the partners of the Erasmus Plus App Consortia and you, the participants, for being here today to experience the new Erasmus Plus app. I'm from a Nordic background, so it's not often that I say this, but I am truly positively excited about today to show you firsthand the new Erasmus Plus app. Before we dive into the Erasmus Plus app, it is important to remember that the reason why we have created Erasmus Plus app is not because digitalization of Erasmus Plus and higher education is an end goal in itself. Instead, we're looking at different ways how to look forward to a simpler, better, and more inclusive Erasmus Plus program that reaches an ever wider and inclusive community. And we saw that this could be in many ways achieved by improving user experiences. We could really take a look at the Erasmus Plus program, provide an accurate, up-to-date information in a central point for students to reduce any confusion and anxiety that participants may have initially as they begin their Erasmus journey, to really guide them through the entire life cycle of the program, to connect them with like-minded individuals from various student or youth organizations, and most importantly, to bring the Erasmus Plus program to an ever wider audience. So we took all of the knowledge that we had gained in the previous Erasmus Plus app that was, as previously mentioned, released as part of the 30th anniversary of the program, to really redesign it as the single entry point for Erasmus Plus participants, to make it an integral part of the program that guides you every step of the way and is in many ways your first digital friend during your Erasmus Plus journey. Now, the new Erasmus Plus app is a brand new and responsibly redesigned application, which means it fits whichever device you would want to use the Erasmus Plus app. You can use it in your smartphone, you can use it either in your tablet or on your laptop or desktop. The choice is very much yours on how you wish to experience the new Erasmus Plus app. But I think that the best way to show the new Erasmus Plus app is to really take you through the new features of the app, which is why we have prepared a short sneak peek in the form of a live demo of the new Erasmus Plus app. So I will quickly switch to my little demo setup here, which everything seems to work perfectly. So welcome to the new Erasmus Plus app. As you can see, it's currently displayed in a portrait view. So this is in many ways how the app would appear if you're using it through a mobile phone. But a reminder that you can also use it in landscape or whatever device you choose to, as mentioned previously. Now, I've taken the liberty of already logging into the app, since I don't think waiting through a login screen is necessarily the most exciting part of a demo. But as you can see, I have successfully authenticated with my academic credentials, and I have decided that for this demo, I want to pursue a higher education study mobility as part of my Erasmus, going from Belgium to Greece in Athens. As you can see, I already have all of this set up in the app, ready to go. Now, the key to the Erasmus Plus app is the Erasmus Plus journey. We have divided the different steps that any participant has to take during the program into logical phases that can allow you to easily structure and make your preparations and your experience during Erasmus go as smoothly as possible. The first thing to support this is a checklist for each of the steps. So during any of the steps, you have a list of things to do that any participant of the program should go through in order to avoid any unnecessary surprises during this. And you can also check them in more detail to have a more detailed understanding. As you can see, I have already completed this step, so we can move on to the during application. And in this space, we already have a slightly different list of checklists that I would need to complete in order to continue. Now, it's of course also very important to have a full overview of Erasmus Plus programs, benefits, steps, and requirements, which means at any point during your usage of the app, you can also view the full checklist that includes details of every single step, meaning you already know what's going to be around the corner, giving you in many ways the control to shape and prepare your Erasmus Plus experience. The second thing that you can see on the main screen is your feed. So in each of the steps of the mobility journey, you will be able to see information that aims to support you during your experience. And you can scroll to it, like in any app, via timeline. And you have both information from the app itself regarding the current step, additional information about the Erasmus Plus program, as well as various stories about the life of the Erasmus generation, some tips such as what to pack, and what are the events and offers in your receiving institution during your stay, so you can already begin to plan what you would do outside of your academic life as well. And of course, for any of them, you can always tap on it to see in more detail the content of this and learn a bit more. For example, in this case, about what are the most important things to pack before I go on an exchange, which I think is something very useful to have now that when I reflect. Now, when you move to new locations, also, of course, very important to know where things are. So the second main view, which you can switch here in the corner, is the map view, which displays the same content, but shows it in a geographic setting. So I can zoom in on the city of Athens, for example, and now I have an overview of the various academic institutions, as well as various offers that I have around this building. So I can see here that I have a nice cafe next to this building. And this kind of information can be provided by different organizations on the app. For example, but not limited to ESN volunteers in Athens, which have created a deal for this cafe, for example. So that's the key features about the feed and the map. Now, of course, it's also very important that you can move at any point backwards or forwards during mobility journey, in case you want to catch up with some information you missed before, or you want to see what's around the corner. For example, I remember in my previous stage that I had this interesting section about the Erasmus Plus program, and Erasmus has many possibilities, so it's quite likely that I will want to try something else once I finish my academic mobility. So it would be great to shortlist this, which is why we have introduced an option to like items. And this has a twofold advantage. The main is that, of course, we can see which content is liked on the app and tailored user experience, and the users themselves can see which content is popular and recommended to them by other users. Second main advantage, of course, is the fact that if I click on this heart on the top here, I can see all of my liked items in a short list, always accessible to me, which means if I have anything that I want to come back to during my Erasmus journey, I can easily find it here without the need to go back to the timeline itself. Now, the Erasmus Plus app is not only your friend during your mobility experience when you're using the app itself. It also works behind the scenes to make your life easier and as smooth as possible. As you can notice here, I have this bell icon here, and you see that I have a notification from the online learning agreement platform. Now, the online learning agreement platform has been integrated because of the open-ended design of the Erasmus Plus app to communicate with the Erasmus Plus app, which means you can see here that my online learning agreement has been signed, and I didn't need to go to the platform itself to do this, which means that various different information about my Erasmus journey just gets sent to me in the app. And as we continue the digitalization of Erasmus Plus, more and more various tools will become available and visible to the app in such a way. We have some things already in the pipeline, such as the online linguistic support or the Erasmus Skills self-evaluation tool, which allows you to see how you have grown in terms of skills and competences during your Erasmus experience. Now, with any new app, there might always be questions about its different functionalities. So we've done our best to include already in the app as much information as possible, both about the Erasmus Plus program, as well as about the usage of the app. So for example, if you're curious about how the online learning agreement communicates with the Erasmus Plus app, you can find more detailed information in the About section here. Of course, one of the main opportunities that you also have is to contact the Help Center by clicking the plus icon in the corner and clicking Help Center here. This puts you in contact with us, the Erasmus Plus app team, and we will do our best to take your feedback or suggestions in accord. Finally, the beauty of the Erasmus Plus program comes from the participation of various different individuals with exciting life stories, and we wanted to make sure that the different participants can share this information with each other and interact through the app itself as well. And currently, we offer this in one of two ways. The first, participants can add tips to the app. We already saw some tips in the timeline, which means that you can leave a tip about the favorite selfie spot you had during your Erasmus, or whether you need to bring warm clothes during the winter period. And as you submit them here, they will get added to the Erasmus Plus app for other students to see. so you can actively support other current and future participants of the Erasmus Plus program here. The second one is the ability to share your Erasmus story. I think that every Erasmus story is worth showcasing, so you can spread your Erasmus story through the app and leave your mark on the future of the Erasmus program. And personally, I also think it's a great way to really reflect on those fond memories you had and live them through once more while you write your Erasmus story. This is a very short summary of the new Erasmus Plus app. So I will just quickly switch back to my slide deck. The new Erasmus Plus app, it brings Erasmus Plus to your fingertips. It is available now, either for download on your Android or iOS device, or it can be accessed through your favorite web browser. And really, this time, the way how you wish to experience Erasmus through the Erasmus Plus app is in your hands. So pick the device that works best for you. Be sure to check out the new Erasmus Plus app to see its functionalities firsthand and share your opinions with us, both after this event and in the Slido that was mentioned beforehand. Thank you all so much. And once again, we are really excited about all of the work that has been done over the past few years. And it is really great to see it live and here today. Thank you very much. If memory serves me right, now I will pass the virtual mic back to our moderator, Tajana, who will introduce our upcoming panel discussion.
Thank you very much, Kaspars, and thank you very much for your presentation. I'm sure that it served well for the participants. I would like to remind you once again that we are using Slido for content-related questions, and we are using Zoom only for the questions related to the technical difficulties throughout this event. So please visit slido.com with the code EAPP. You can also find it in the chat as well as on our slides of the presentation during the event. So please use Slido. Before we move on to the next stage, which is the panel, as Kaspars just announced, if you remember, we did ask you a very nice question about what do you look forward to most in the Erasmus Plus app. The poll is still open. However, I can see that some of you already started answering. Well, a very high number of you, 500. We do have a winner, let's say, that the 60% of the current participants who have answered prefer, which is the arranging all the paperwork, which is one of the biggest difficulties that the students experience when preparing for their exchange. Here you can see also on the screen the most popular answers. However, you can still continue to with answering the questions throughout the event. It is going to be very useful for us, and I'm sure for everyone when making the next steps for the app. Now, like I already announced, we are going to move to the panel discussion. Before you can see our panelists, and before we officially move on, I would also like to thank to all the previous speakers, especially from the European Commission, Madam Commissioner and Madam General Director, ELTE University, and of course Kaspars for presenting the app. We will start now with the panel. Discussion. I will introduce our dear speakers one by one. As our first speaker, we have Kostis Yanidis, the president of the Erasmus Student Network. Kostis, can you please introduce yourself and tell us why is the digitalization of the Erasmus Plus program important for the experience of exchange students?
Yes. Hello, Diana. Can you confirm that you can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Well, as an Erasmus Plus alumni myself, I am so happy to see the Erasmus Plus app and why it is so important for digitalization. Well, the whole world is moving to a digital transformation, and the Erasmus Plus program was always forward-looking. And if we want to keep up with with how the world is moving on, the Erasmus generation should be up to date. And the digitalization will offer so many possibilities for the Erasmus generation. I remember when I did my Erasmus, it was so difficult for me. And I'm so happy that this app now will make it much easier for the future Erasmus Plus students. I'm very happy to be here in this panel, and I'm looking forward to exchange some insights with the rest of the panelists.
Thank you very much, Kostis. As our second speaker, we have Philip Stux, student representative of the Epicure University Alliance. Philip, can you please tell us a few words about yourself and share your perspective on the digitalization of the Erasmus Plus program?
Thank you, Tajana, for the introduction. I hope you can hear me. Yes, I think it's really important to go forward with the digitalization of the Erasmus project, because it's not only about accessibility of what offers there are currently when it comes to Erasmus, but with the new Erasmus project, there will be a broader variety of offers for students, and it will become more accessible through a wider range of offers, but also harder to get an overview and communicate to students what offers there are. And with the app and with the digitalized approach, it will be more easier to pick the specific offer which fits the specific needs of a student, and to build a customized track for your own mobility.
Thank you very much for that introduction, Philip, as well as for sharing your experience and perspective. Our third speaker is Zamzam Ibrahim, the Vice President of the European Student Union. Zamzam, can you please introduce yourself and share your thoughts on the features of the Erasmus Plus app and how they will influence the students' experience?
Absolutely. Hi, everybody. So my name is Zamzam Ibrahim, and I am from the European Students' Union. And for me, I think this app is so incredibly important for the simple fact that I suppose that information is so inaccessible when it's when you have to access it from so many different spaces, right? For me, I never went on Erasmus, but I engaged with so many Erasmus students that came onto my campus and really changed my experience and my university experience. But often, almost one thing that we know as a generation, we're a generation that accesses everything digitally, right? We have and we interpret information and engage with information when it's on a digital platform. And I think this is a really, really giant step, especially because the education system is probably one of the oldest systems to exist, and one of the most difficult to change in the sense of making versatile and accessible. And I think this is a really, really important step in ensuring that that these opportunities become accessible and become inclusive to students who would participate in them and to students who would engage with them best.
Thank you very much for introducing yourself, as well as sharing that perspective from a more student-oriented perspective. And finally, we have Paul Lace, the policy advisor at the International Relations Office of the Ghent University. Paul, can you please tell us a few words about yourself and the importance of the digitalization of the Erasmus Plus program for you?
Yes, sure. Thank you, Tajana, and good afternoon to everybody. As a staff member working at the International Relations Office of Ghent University, where I am responsible for, amongst other, student mobility processes, I very much am aware about the potential benefits of the digitalization of the Erasmus program. Because from the perspective of a higher education institution, of a university, we are delighted with the digitalization of the Erasmus program. And the app is one of the elements in a broader effort to digitize the Erasmus program. And as a university, we encourage such efforts because we truly believe that it will allow us to invest more time in better support for high quality mobilities and in a seamless mobility experience for each and every Erasmus student. Digitalization will help us in better implementation of the program. For example, when it comes to learning agreements, leading to better recognition practices at universities. And moreover, by digitizing the administration, we can make mobility easier and we can focus more on specific target groups and focus on not leaving any students behind.
Thank you very much, Paul, for that introduction. It is also refreshing to see the university perspective, because both perspectives are important, since collaboration is important between the two parties in making initiatives like this successful. Thank you everyone for your introductions. Before we officially start with the panel, as you can see in the slide in front of you, you can see everyone's Twitter handles. So you can also use Twitter as a communication tool, but please also remember to use Slido, where you are more than free to ask questions to our speakers and to our panelists throughout the panel itself. In order to actually kickstart the panel, we can start with the first question, and I would believe that this question would be maybe most appropriate for Kostis to start with, and that is which elements of the Erasmus Plus app will support the students' mobility journey?
Thanks a lot, Diana. I think the fact that the information is so structured and we have the mobility journey there, it's super useful for students. I remember myself when I was searching to do my Erasmus, I went to my professor asking for opportunities. My professor told me go to the coordinator of the department. The coordinator of the department told me go to the Erasmus Plus office of the university. I was asking the university about which countries I can go, where is the best thing. The university was saying go to ESN. I was going to ESN, and ESN was telling me that there are multiple sites that you can check to see about each country, the culture of the country, and so on. So, you know, I was trying to go to all over the places to understand where can I go on Erasmus and how to pick the country and everything. And now everything is in the app, and the app explains you to whom you have to target, to whom you have to ask. It explains you not only about the administrative procedure, but also about the whole concept of the Erasmus. How is one city different to another? How is the culture in one country? How can I make friends? And this is super important for all the students who are looking for this possibility. At this moment, the app serves as a hub for information, but in the future, it will be possible for all the students to apply to do all the paperwork through the app. And I think something that is super important to mention now is that the app, it's not only for the higher education students, it's for all the Erasmus, for the whole Erasmus generation, for young people doing youth exchanges, for apprenticeships doing vocational education training, for everyone who wants to do an Erasmus Plus mobility. And in the future, we will have more functionalities. I'm very happy that ESN is also providing the student input for app to be accessible.
Thank you very much for your answer, Kostis, and for representing the student perspective. It is also very good to point out that the Erasmus Plus app is friendly towards the entire Erasmus generation, including everyone doing any type of a mobility, not just necessarily students who are doing the academic exchange. Moving on though, and maybe this would be most appropriate for Philip to answer. When it comes to the European University Alliances, how can the Erasmus Plus app help improve integration?
Thank you, Diana. I think the European University Alliances own the privilege of working on the question what the mobility of the future might look like. And it means to try some things out, to use different approaches, perhaps to try physical, blended, or virtual aspects with one or with more than one institution for exchange involved. And I think the answer is already that there will not be one mobility of the future, but different forms of mobility you could do. And I think this would really help make mobility more accessible, because if you have different offers, it's more likely that there will be one offer which fits the requests of one specific student. But this brings a demand on how to communicate those offers, and there will be many offers coming up for the from the European University Alliances, and here the app is coming in. So the app could be a really great central platform to communicate and make the variety of offers from those alliances accessible to a broad audience, I believe.
Thank you very much for sharing that valuable perspective, especially from this perspective of the European University Alliances, a very important alliance in the field of mobility. Moving on though, how would you like to see this app to improve the access to mobility opportunities for students and youth? Maybe Zamzam, you can take over this question.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I very much echoing a lot of what Philip and Kostas have already mentioned in terms of how this app allows you to navigate it in a space where it kind of collects all the information together. But also, I think for me, one of the most important parts of this, and in terms of like young people and students accessing mobility, often almost the information that you trust the most is peer-to-peer information, right? Advice that you get from fellow anyone else that's been on that same mobility, and that advice that you get is almost the most crucial advice that you're going to need to be able to access that space, to be able to participate as fully as possible. And I think that's probably one of the most important features of the app. And of course, collating the information and knowing exactly what you need to be able to and I think like the way in which it lays out like all the information, all the paperwork that you need in one space to be able to apply, then to know that what you need to bring before you go, and then essentially like knowing what you need to do whilst you're there, and then also after. I think that's incredibly important. And I think one of the things I wanted to highlight is that today, actually, ISU launched its Bologna with Students' Eyes publication. And as a part of that publication, of course, internationalization and mobility plays a big feature in that. And one of the things that we found is that students in 2018, 68% of students, 63% of students, fed into improving mobility for future students after they went on mobility. And in this publication, 2020, 79% of students fed into improving that experience. And I think actually what this app does, and we're expecting to see in the next publication, is for that number to shoot up, for the simple fact that this app makes it easier and it's more accessible to feed in and improve the experiences for other students, and make sure that we ensure that mobility isn't an exclusive space, and it isn't for the privileged few, but it actually is an accessible space for many students to access, especially those from marginalized communities.
Thank you very much for answering that question. Very important perspective as well, especially when it comes to the accessibility of the opportunities to the students, which is something that we all care about in order to, to popularize and to also improve the student mobility. Thank you very much, though. Moving on, and this is maybe more towards Paul now, since we would also like to hear the university perspective, since we have been hearing from the student perspective. How can universities play a role in making sure the Erasmus Plus app is a useful tool for students?
Yeah, I think I can first of all reinforce what the other speakers were telling about the importance of the community sharing their experience. But besides that, I think the app can also add a lot of practical information about universities for students. And of course, here is an important role to play for universities. If we look at the processes nowadays, universities exchange fact sheets with a lot of practical information about housing, about visa, about insurances, but also with contact details. And as a university, we receive it from about 600 partners, Erasmus partners all over Europe. And then we try to kind of distribute it towards our students because it's a lot of valuable information for them. And then, of course, when there are updates, we need to do it all over again. Of course, with the app as a central repository, it can make a huge difference in this process, because universities can directly communicate to potential students and share the important information and share updates about contacts and things like that. So in that regard, I think the community has its role to play in terms of the students who can share their experiences, but also the higher education institutions. They can share their practical information, which can make a huge difference in the future, I think, for a truly immersive experience when it comes to exploring the potential Erasmus host universities. A second element, I think, that is important for us as universities is that the app offers certain features that are very important for students. And I want to refer to what Kaspers was telling about the Erasmus skills, where students can kind of, before they go on a mobility, assess their skills and competences. And we are very much convinced that the skills development will benefit when students are aware about the skills they will get from such experience. And then a final element that I want to also address here is the possibility that is planned for the future to integrate student applications in the Erasmus app. For universities that currently don't have a good working solution for managing Erasmus exchanges, of course, this will be a huge leap forward, because they will be able to manage student applications via the app directly. But of course, there are also universities like my own university, Ghent University, where we have our own student information system in place, and we want to keep using our own system, but we can kind of connect our student information system to the journey of the Erasmus Plus app, and then I think also our students can benefit, because it's a direct connection between the two systems. So, and this is also something very important from the university perspective.
Thank you very much for sharing that perspective. I can only agree with it as someone who experienced mobility through Erasmus Plus 4 times, that providing information to the students is extremely beneficial and important, also to encourage them to go on mobility. And I'm very glad that you also mentioned the Erasmus skills, since this is also a very important part of the exchange experience. The acquisition of skills and the competences through the mobility program is definitely an added value to this. Thank you very much for sharing your perspectives. Now this is really something for all the panelists, since it's more of a general question, let's say, and that would be, what is required in your opinion to make sure the Erasmus Plus app is a success, and what do you think could be potential challenges?
If I may, Tayana, I can take this question, and this is actually a call for action for all the participants who are watching this event today. I'm informed that we have around 2,500 participants, which shows that the Erasmus Plus app actually brings together the Erasmus community. So for the app to be successful, we should really embrace the app, all of us, students, practitioners, policymakers, because otherwise the app won't be successful. EUF, ESN, ELTA, and the Commission did the first step, which is providing the app. But if we don't have a content, if we don't log into the app, then it's not going to be work for students. Imagine one university using a different app, another university using another app. So this won't be successful. All of us, we have to come together as an Erasmus community and put all the information that we need. Students to put stories, students to share all the experience that they have, but also universities to connect their internal infrastructure, so to be able to apply from one university to another. And this is the first thing that we have to keep in our minds, that the tool is not the end, but we have actually to do a step further to make it successful.
Thank you very much, Kostis. This is also one of the questions I have noticed we had in the audience, so thank you for already covering that. Would maybe any of the other panelists would like to add something to the potential challenges that you can see, but also how do you think, what do you think is required to make the app successful?
I mean, I think one of the things that have already been highlighted by Kostis, but also has been highlighted in the past, is essentially for this app to be successful, everybody has to be able to engage with it, right? That we have to be able to ensure that, like, institutions put their data on it for it to be used in the best way possible, and the only way they can do that is by everybody making sure that they prioritize it, right? And I think that I can't stress how important that would be, because the reality is without that information and without that engagement, the app is essentially doesn't work and it doesn't fulfill its purpose. And I think one of the things that has been recognized and also highlighted in the sense that like apps develop, they over time there will be features that will be added. We know that this is the first launch. There will be other features that are added to improve the experience and to strengthen the purpose of the app. And the point of this is to ensure that like we don't have 70 different apps across the board in the education sector, right? Like the reality is the experience of student mobility is so incredibly important, but also we literally live in a global village in the sense that we all so interlinked, right? And recognizing and understanding that how educational institutions, whether it's in Bulgaria or it's in Belgium, are incredibly important to understand that there is a clear transmission of information that is happening between those campuses and between those experiences, right? And so like when we talk about like how important education is and how it should essentially mirror up in the sense that there should be a direct link between those experiences, then there's almost for me, a sense of accountability that sits on anybody that has access to Erasmus, right? To be able to then upload their experiences on how they engage with those campuses, but also vice versa to the institutions who play a vital role in ensuring that all the information that a student would need to be able to come and access mobility on that campus has already uploaded that. And I think that's incredibly important to highlight.
Perhaps just to add on what has been said by Costa and Sam, I totally agree. I think the app would also be a great way for institutions to listen to the student experience, actually. Because I mean, the greatest knowledge about Erasmus is held by all the students who did an Erasmus mobility. And if the experience of those students is collected in the app, it's a great chance for the institutions to look on that experience and perhaps adapt the mobility for the future in a way that this experience can be improved.
Thank you very much for sharing those perspectives. I think that there are many benefits for both students and universities when it comes to the app, and we have heard a lot about the student benefits, right? However, the audience is also asking to hear some benefits for the higher education institutions as well. So could you maybe list some of the benefits for the higher education institutions when it comes to the app, so we can also cover this perspective?
I guess you target this question to me as a representative from a higher education institution. Yeah, I think it's what I said before. We can use the scale of the app in order to unlock a huge amount of information to our potential incoming students from the perspective of university as Ghent University, but also for our outgoing students, because all the information about our partner universities will be living in the app. And of course, I think there are still a few steps to take in the next releases where, for example, also the agreements from universities are available in the app. So students kind of don't get all the possible study destinations, but those that are targeted because there's an agreement with their university and the host institutions. So this would be an additional step required to make this element more useful also for the students. But talking about the main challenges, I think I can only agree that it is up to us to try to promote the app to the biggest possible extent. But it's also one of the biggest opportunities, because the community that is inside the app can share the most valuable information with their fellow students and the future students. And I can't stress that enough. But I'm also convinced that once the ball gets rolling, we have a snowballing effect. Because if our current Erasmus students, we try to organize events where we bring them together with future students, if they can speak about, yeah, we use the app because there was so much information about housing, there were concrete tips about certain cities as well, the app can improve massively. And one element that is currently also missing, and that higher education institutions should take up their responsibility and think how we can also integrate the real academic aspects of the student exchanges, and also have what we have to offer in terms of academic experience, besides the community part of things and the student stories and the practical information. So if we have those three elements, I think we can cater for the complete Erasmus student experience.
Thank you very much for covering that perspective as well. Hopefully the audience got the answer to the questions that they were asking. And in order to wrap this up and to look more forward into the future, I would actually like to ask you about your hopes for the Erasmus Plus app. How do you hope that the app is going to be used? And are there maybe some features that you would like to see personally in the app? Kostis, maybe you can.
Sorry, but so the question was about additional features.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, well, as I said before, now the information, the app serves as a hub of information, so everything can be found there. But I really want to see the app in the future to be the only place that students have to go in order to apply for going on Erasmus. I mean, for me, I remember that I had to use the system of my university, then I had to send the learning agreement to my university, then to send the learning agreement to another university. There was a lot of process there. So what I envision in the app is that students to go there and do all the administrative procedures, everything, find information, so they do not need to go to several places, either if it is physical or online. It's important to not be only about practical matters, but about being a place where students and young people, they can feel that they belong in one generation, in the Erasmus generation, by exchange to one another, giving stories, giving feedback to their mobility experience, and so on. And if I may, very, very quickly to the question, what is for the universities? Well, by having the Erasmus Plus app, I believe that you will reduce by, I don't know how many 100%, the rate of students going to you and asking you questions. If they can find everything in the app, then you don't need to have like 100 students piling up outside of your international relation office and asking about accommodation, about culture, about I don't know what. So everything is in the app, right? So this is, I think, very important also for the universities to keep in mind.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other hopes when it comes to the features and the usage of the app?
I may, for the future of the app, I really hope that the app is going to reflect the various forms of mobility, that the universities take the chance to embed those in the app. And like, for example, for the European universities, that's a new approach, and that's something perhaps universities want to sell to students, and therefore provide information within the app, but also for students to take the chance and really use the app, embed their knowledge, and kick off also a discussion about mobility, because I think it's important for the students, but also for the higher educational institutions to learn from each other and to have an ongoing exchange of what works, what was a good experience for students, and therefore have a continuous dialogue of how the mobility of the future can be improved.
Yeah, I'm going to very much echo what both Philip and Kostas have said again, in the sense that, like, absolutely, I think I look forward to watching the app develop, and I would wholeheartedly like to see it become the only app that's utilized for mobility across the board. And I think that it would be very vital in the sense that it would make I guess mobility so much more accessible. I can't imagine what it would be like to go from one institution to another institution who speak completely different languages with like a learning agreement, and trying to handle that as a student when you're already trying to navigate the difficulty of completely moving to a different space. And so I think this app is incredibly important in tackling some of those issues. But I would really like to see some live feature in the sense that like when students are in mobility and like there are, I don't know, travel to a different space, knowing who else is maybe also traveling to that space and being able to have some form of ability to connect with them and network with them, but also some kind of integration and link to the student association or the student union that exists in that space, and being able to access, like finding out like in advance, like what's happening on that campus, whether it's events, whether it's sports activities and facilities. I think those are really important. Those are some of the things that like are marketed very differently by university brochures and completely different by students themselves. So I think that's really important to hear from young people, and to cheekily also touch on how universities would benefit from this app. I think first of all, not only would you save staff cost, like Curtis mentioned, in the sense that like you won't have hundreds and hundreds of students asking questions, but also you'll save hundreds and if not like thousands and thousands monthly on marketing, in the sense that university spend a lot of money in ensuring and bringing in international students and bringing in students to come to their campus for mobility purposes, because we know it's such an enriching experience, not just for the students that come, but also for our campuses. And so actually like to sort of level the playing field, in the sense that like it is almost a like one-stop shop of like having a look at everything that's available, puts your university very much at the very center of those, rather than like the big flashy universities that have the most money and that are able to put commercials on the TV or like whatever else universities do these days to promote their campus. So I think it's really important for the sense of like actually having a level playing field and actually highlighting some of the campuses who probably you may not have heard of or you may not have seen, but actually would fit perfectly into the experience that you're looking for. And I think that's really why you need to engage with it, amongst many other reasons as beneficial for an institution.
Thank you very much for sharing those perspectives. I think that this is a dream for everyone, to have a centralized information system for both the students and the universities as well, for the reasons you have mentioned. It is always good to keep the dream alive and to have so many wishes for the future developments, because as long as we can see the future, well, the future is bright. Thank you very much for answering all of our questions and for participating in this panel. It was a pleasure having you here for us, and I'm sure for the audience, and I'm confident you have given them some food for thought. So thank you again very much for your participation. We will now be moving on with the rest of the event and the following presentation when it comes to the future plans for the Erasmus Plus app. This is going to be presented by the Daiga Kuzmane from the European University Foundation. We have received quite a lot of technical questions in the Slido. So hopefully Daiga's presentation is also going to show some of the questions that you had, and is going to shed more light on the technical aspects, but also on the future plans that we have for the app. Daiga, the floor is yours.
So I think you can nicely see my slides now. And indeed, thank you so much for giving me the floor. It is a great pleasure to join you today. And yes, after having these very exciting discussions that we had now in the panel in the previous presentations, I get to tell you what exactly you can expect in 2021. And I'm really very happy to hear the things that were mentioned during this panel discussion on well, indeed, the dreams and the wishes that we have. And I mean, I think it's very clear that the sky is the limit, but at the same time, many of those details will be something that actually will be made available within 2021 already. And so yes, a new year has started. I know I will remove this because I think you see less in my presentation with the Zoom panels. But yeah, we have a new year and we have a new Erasmus program, and we also have already a new Erasmus Plus app that, as Kaspars was already presenting, is ready to support students in their experience, in their Erasmus mobility, even in these very challenging times. And it does so by offering much needed guidance in how to organize their journey, and by providing information and also linking students to relevant services and even notifying them on when specific administrative steps are requesting their attention. And this is indeed the key idea of the app, that it can be a companion and also this one-stop shop for students throughout their mobility. And the key end game here really is that this more information and more support can bring us a fundamentally better mobility experience. And to do so, by contributing on the one hand to smoother experience and basically facilitating indeed these aspects related to the paperwork. And as we saw already in Slido, this is definitely one aspect that is very important for many of us, but also in ensuring that it can be very exciting immersion in a completely new country, in a new community, and of course also in a new university. And in order to achieve this, in the months ahead, we will be further enriching the app by bringing universities and also more student organizations on board. And we will be enabling them to add more information and services. So basically building what we already have in the app and what we can see, and of course adding new functionalities. And so what does it look like? When it comes to these relevant services, this notion of the single point of entry into the program means that Erasmus-related notifications, as you saw, for example, with the online learning agreement, can be centralized from a number of services. And the online linguistic support could be a good example for the next ones that could be added. But of course, they're not the only ones, and more will follow. And some examples were already named. The Erasmus skills that allow students to actually evaluate their skills before, during, and after mobility, or buddy system platforms that allow to find actually the peers that can support them and of course become one later on. So they're not necessarily mandatory part of the program, but they can still improve the experience massively. Or let's look at the public feed of the events, stories and tips and deals that are coming from the students, but also from the student organizations. And this is the place where to share, where to find, for example, accommodation, or where to get the bike on with the most student-friendly prices, or where is the next event that I can safely join in my Erasmus city. And of course, the key value of this sphere is, well, with the pace of time. And you might notice that currently, for example, the events that have been shared, they are very often taking place online. And but it still would be a fantastic way to engage and establish a community, and also, well, potentially the safest way how to interact, at least for now. And what is also very, very important, do have your voice, as we are very much looking forward to the students to sharing their tips and stories and making sure that they are sharing this knowledge that they have. Because, I mean, Erasmus experience itself, it's all about sharing and celebrating this exploration. So do be generous and don't keep just your discoveries to yourself. And of course, there's one more stakeholder group that could share and can share particularly vital information. And that is the universities themselves. And one of the next big steps that we are going to make is to enable that institutions can also contribute this public content, so events, deals, and services, and in such a way make the app even more tailor-made for their students' needs. And it doesn't end here, because it is also clear that Erasmus experience and the procedures that we have to go through, they might slightly differ from institution to another, or sometimes even vastly differ. And therefore, the institutions will be able also to customize and update the mobility journey steps in the app and make sure that all the steps before, during, and after are really personalized to their student needs. And the students effectively will be able to really know what to expect from, for example, application procedure. Or when is the next time I can meet with my Erasmus alumni that just came back from the university where I want to go now. Or discover that their host institution might actually have intensive language and cultural immersion courses. So stay tuned. We will share more information as we are adding these features. And of course, also the webinar will be organized to make sure that institutions are fully aware of how to use this feature and how to really benefit from it the most and make sure that your students can gain from it. And we are planning to release this functionality in spring, so it's coming already soon. Another aspect to make sure that the app is even more inclusive and really allows even more students to benefit is making sure that it is available in more languages than just English. And the plan is around the end of 2021, it would be translated in all the official EU languages. So we do think that this would really make it a lot more accessible and a lot more inclusive. But the most exciting functionality that we are very much looking forward to in 2021 is the application and nomination through the Erasmus+ app. That really allows to go through all these phases, so apply, to be selected, and to be nominated through the app. And to explain in basically how exactly that would then happen, the step one would be the student is logged in and we know their home institution. And their home university is really using the app for this procedure, because as Paul was already highlighting, there might be some institutions that are using their own systems. And I mean, this would be something that is an opt-in. But if they do, then the student will be able to see different partnerships that this university has. So the agreements that they have, for example, University of Bergen is cooperating with University of Rotterdam and dozens of others. And this would be the pool that they can choose from. And over time, we plan to add more and more useful information about the destinations and do so from different kinds of sources. Because of course, it's very important to know about the program and the university, but it's just as important to know about accessibility on the campus or how lively actually the student community is in the given city. So we plan to combine the partnership agreement data with more diverse information that effectively will help students to make better informed decisions. And to give an example, one of the details that we plan to add is to have a crowdsourced living cost collector that the students will actually be contributing themselves. So that should be the most informative actually source of information to support them there. And after immersing in this pool of different kind of information, the students would be able to make up their mind and actually put together the application procedure itself. So see the requirements and combine those documents and actually submit it to the institution. They can review it and the student can receive the basically real-time notifications on when they are being nominated. And the same way as you saw with the OLA notifications, have it all in the app. So, and of course, as the next steps, then the app will be able to support them after the nomination and during and after their mobility. And so yes, as highlighted, some institutions might already have a similar system, but the whole idea of the European Student Card Initiative is to make sure that the Erasmus opportunities are available to and accessible to a broader range of students. So the app would allow for this to become a reality for all, and also to make sure that we can really reap the fruits of digitization and really capitalize on those processes that are happening actually in so many fronts. And so yes, and that also means that the app team will be developing a respective applications module, as of course institutions have to have a place where can they interact with these basically submissions and review the process and actually nominate the student. And finally, another big functionality that we are very excited to see that will be coming in the late 2021 is the digital European student card. The European student card is a very beautiful idea, but we do believe that in order for that to become a reality as soon as possible, we do need to move past the plastic cards and actually go digital. So many universities we know are excited actually to make this leap. So we do hope that supporting digital cards right in the app will actually speed up this whole transformation process. And obviously that also kind of goes very well in line with this one-stop shop that allows students to have everything in the app. And we hope that it will be easy and simple approach for them to just use the card in the digital format in the app, basically the same way as they would be using on the campuses while they're still at home. So in short, these would be the key functionality that are upcoming in the 2021. And as mentioned, we'll be reaching out to you as they are coming along, and will be released to host several webinars to introduce them and make sure that all of the stakeholders are fully aware of how to take advantage of these features. The Erasmus Through Our Paper Competence Center will also provide more guidance and basically illustrate the processes, and of course be also constantly updated. And it will also include a kit with different instructions of how to reach out to the students, so different communication materials. And yes, with that, I will actually say thank you for your attention. And yeah, we are very excited to see how the app will transform the mobility in the years to come.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Daiga. Like I already said, the audience had quite a few technical questions, so hopefully this presentation has answered a few of them. However, as you could have seen, we are also going to have more events like this and more webinars in order to explain more the technical aspects, as well as the new features are getting added into the app. Additionally, please stay assured that all the questions you have asked on Slido, both technical ones, but also content related that we had throughout the panel, will be answered in due time. So they will be processed and you will receive your answers to your questions. As a final remark, we also asked one more question on Slido, which is more focused on who is the Erasmus Plus app going to have most impact. I can see you already found the question and that you already started answering it. So if you still didn't participate, since I can see that a little bit more than 100 people answered, you can now go on Slido and tell us on whom do you think the Erasmus Plus app is going to have most impact. As you can see, there are a few different answers here, but the majority of them, the highlighted one, of course, are students and universities. And this is how it should be. The app should reach a balance and provide support to both the students, but also to the universities. If we include both of these perspectives together, we reach the highest impact possible. Because as long as we include both perspectives, the student one, but also the university one, we are going to make wonderful things, and we are going to be continuing to make wonderful things such as this app. And I'm sure all the other future initiatives that are going to come out of the needs of both the students and the higher education institutions. I can see that more questions are coming in, so we have climbed more than 300, but the words such as students, universities, higher education institutions, international relations office, and similar, mobility as a whole are still being highlighted, so that is a very, very good sign. Of course, you can still continue leaving your opinions. They're going to be very valuable for us in the future. However, we have reached the end of this event. I would like to thank you for your participation very much, as well as for interacting with us through Slido. Hopefully our speakers could showcase the benefits of the Erasmus Plus app, both for the students, student representatives, the education policymakers, but also the university staff. As you could have heard, we are going also to come with more news as more features are added into the app, and we hope to make an even higher impact on mobility, as well as to enrich the Erasmus generation with initiatives like this. Thank you very much for your participation and have a lovely rest of the day.